The rise of the Chinese tippler is driving a boom in Australian wine exports, with premium vintages most sought after. But there's now concern that niche could be at risk. Australian winemakers are grappling with how to maintain prices as cheap exports threaten to flood the market. Rebecca Nash reports.
There's an increasing thirst for wine in China, and Australia's winemakers have found a very valuable customer.
The French are still very dominant, but Australia's the second most consumed foreign wine in China. Most importantly, the average values of exports going into that market are over $5 compared to around $2 or even less in some cases to other markets.
And that's the welcome aspect of the Chinese market for the Australian industry. Unlike the UK and the US, it's focused on the expensive end of the wine list.
We find in China we're more likely to sell our reserve wines that have retail prices over $100 because they have high scores and a lot of prestige.
The Yarra Valley's Yering station has experienced a phenomenal growth in demand from China, and they're not alone.
We've been growing it close on 100% the last few years.
Distribution is clearly very important for wine exporters. While there are roughly 3,000 wine importers in China, many of those are very small outfits. Increasingly, Australian wineries like Yering Station are choosing to take matters into their own hands.
The winery now employs 25 people at its Chinese distribution business.
So we can say with confidence that we know the provenance of this wine and the history, and we know it's being consumed as we meant it to leave the winery.
It seems the high margins are attracting a boom in wine distributors in China, but most lack the experience required to handle the delicate product.
To really have effective distribution in China, you have to work through people who have a broad portfolio of wines, particularly French wines, to attract the market and to attract people in the trade over in China.
An interesting outcome of China's fondness for Australian wines is a growing enthusiasm for Australian vineyards.
The Chinese are they're savvy investors, they're great traders, and with the internet and availability of information, it's pretty easy for them to work out that it's a good time to invest.
It's thought even a small Chinese stake will go some way to developing greater market access in China.
Chinese investment in Australian wine will only help us sell more wine into China, and that's going to give our people jobs and lead to further investments.
So perhaps a golden moment in China and Australia's wine relationship. But there are concerns it could turn sour, with some in the industry seeing it as an opportunity to dump wine to alleviate the glut.
If there's a whole lot of volume of cheap wine going into that market, that there could be a potential that the price starts getting eroded, the reputation of Australian wine gets eroded.
I think Australian producers are very mindful that they don't want to repeat the process that's occurred in other markets.
Chinese tourists walking through the cellar door at Yering Station number in the thousands these days, and it's giving rise to a genuine optimism about this new market.
On the trend rates, it looks like, within 18 months, 2 years, it'll be equal to our biggest export market. It's pretty much one of the only markets in the world in growth.
I think it's just a natural progression that you'll see more and more investment where people are trying to shore up supply.
And it looks like the Australian industry might just be in the right place at the right time.